All right, historians, are you ready to get started on your final assignment with this class, which is basically your culminating research project? So you've been doing all sorts of preparation, learning about Arizona history, learning about local history, proposing some content for some other local history research projects, but this is really the big kahuna, right? So you are participating in one way or another with the South Phoenix Oral History Project. Now, in the last couple of weeks, you've learned a little bit about the South Phoenix Oral History Project. And as a reminder, this is a student-found initiative to capture and preserve the history of South Phoenix. You learned a little bit about how we got started and why, but basically we got started because students like you were concerned that there were no books, articles, websites, museums devoted to the history of South Phoenix, which is where South Mountain Community College is and where many of you live. So whether or not you're from here, you can still learn a lot about Arizona history and local history by doing this work. If we were in person, if this was an in-person class, you would each be conducting an interview with someone, an oral history interview with a firsthand account, someone who grew up in the area or lived and worked in the area for a long time, and you'd be analyzing that interview. But because this isn't an in-person class, I won't require you to conduct one of those interviews because there's some technical requirements, things like recording devices and materials. We have a whole studio that we conduct these interviews in. And frankly, that's just not something that I want to require of you since this is an asynchronous online class. So instead, what you'll be doing is analyzing an interview either I've done or students have done. For the most part, it's probably an interview I've done on your behalf. So I'm going to show you how to get that process going today with this short video on today's assignment. So for your final assignment, you will be contributing to the South Phoenix Oral History Project. You've already acquainted yourself with the practice of oral history, so now it's time to choose a narrator. And so in the assignment, this is a discussion post. In the assignment, here's what you're going to do. First, you're going to review our list of eligible interviews to process. Like I said, I've already conducted a lot of these interviews on your behalf. So now you just have to choose which of the interviews Dr. C has done you want to focus on. So take a look at who we've interviewed so far. Click on each name to access a shared folder. This will give you information on, like, maybe I have photographs from some people. Maybe I have a biographical summary from some people. Some folders are more full than others. So it might help you to decide what you want to look at. And then try to find one or two narrators whose stories might interest you. So you'll go ahead and you'll click on this link. This is the fall 2023 narrator list. So if you're watching this video several years from now, this list will look very different. But basically, each of the eligible interviews are listed here with a direct link to their shared folder. So then I also provide you with maybe one or two sentences about who that person is, so you kind of know what to expect, and anything weird or different about the interview. So for example, Susan Morris Brooks, she's the daughter of a civil rights leader in Arizona history, Dr. George Brooks, and she was interviewed with her brother. So you might be like, oh, well, how will I do that? You'll only need to focus on Susan's portions of the interview because we've already processed George's portions. So if you clicked on Susan's, for example, it'll take you to her shared folder, and you can see we have just like content from them that might be useful to you as the potential processor or researcher. But then you might see something else. So for example, Carol Coles Henry. Now, if you're watching this in real time with me, if you click on it, her folder is empty. That's because I haven't interviewed her yet. But by the time you're making your selection, this interview will be populated in this folder. But that just kind of gives you an idea of the diversity of folders. So for example, here's Mr. Dawson's interview. All we have are his voice recordings, right? We have a backup and we have his actual recording. There's no photographs from him. There's no newspaper articles from him. And there's a reason for that. One other thing I want to show you is that these two interviews indicated here, Irma Payan and Ray Martinez, we interviewed them in a car. So we're driving around an area, we're driving around a neighborhood, they're giving us landmarks to look at. So it's a little bit different, but all the processing you're going to be doing is the same, regardless of the format of the interview. So I want you to take a look at the narrators and kind of see who you're interested in, right? Like each of these people is their own individual person. They're sharing with you their background, their stories. It's in a conversation. It's kind of fluid. It's not like opening a textbook or looking at the index of something and being able to point right away to what you want to focus on. You're really learning about one person's life story in 1 hour or so. And the reason we do it this way is because if you really think about the makeup of local history, if you really think about how South Phoenix came to be, no one entity created South Phoenix. South Phoenix was created by the people who live here. So we're really devoted and dedicated to capturing those stories in kind of an authentic and real way. So what you're helping us do is crucial to the work of oral historians, local historians, and historians in general. Here's what you're doing. I'm sitting down and having these conversations with people. You're making them make sense. You're going to make these interviews and conversations historically relevant. You're going to validate these people's stories through your research and through your analysis of their work. So right now, all you have to do is pick a narrator. Take a look at the list, see what you think, who interests you. Okay, now it's time to select your interview. Here's what to do. Decide if you want to work alone or in a partner. You can work in teams of 2. I don't really like teams more than that because I think that there's not enough work for more than 2 people to share. You are also welcome to work alone. If you want to work on a team, confirm with your partner, someone else in the class that you want to work with, that they also want to work with you. So you can send them an email and Canvas, you can reach out to them that way, or you can just put it right in the discussion board. It's fine for me if you use the discussion board this way. Maybe look at a few previously conducted interviews, like what else has been done? We've interviewed over 90 people, so you can click on any of these to see kind of how does this look? What is Dr. C going to expect of me? I'm trying really hard not to front load you with all the work right now. I just want you to pick your narrator. But if you're kind of unsure like what that might look like, this kind of is a good breakdown, right? You've got a picture of somebody, you've got a little story about them, you've got this metadata table, right? You've got some information about what we might be looking for. What about Kathy Nakagawa, for example? What does her page look like? Okay, a little story, a little picture of her. What are these icons for? We'll talk about those later. A historical image, another picture, some metadata. Like, let's take a look at what Dr. C is going to be expecting of us. That might help you make a decision. And then remind yourself of your definition of oral history and kind of what we know about oral history as a practice. Once you're ready to make your selection, you pick your person, you pick your narrator. So make your selection, select the interview you want to process. Of that list of narrators, who do you want to research? I need you to scan the discussion board first. So scroll through, see what other people have said, because priority goes to the person who chose first. So let's say you fell in love with Wiley Wallace, right? You really want to do Wiley Wallace's interview. That's the one where I drive around with him in South Phoenix and he and I stop and take pictures of street art in South Phoenix. Oh gosh, maybe you really want to know about street art in South Phoenix. That's like graffiti type art, right? Murals, things on walls and bulletin boards or billboards, but also tagging. Make sure nobody else has claimed Wiley Wallace's interview. And maybe somebody has, but they're working alone. Maybe you email them and say, hey, actually really interested in Wiley Wallace's interview. Can I work with you? That's fine. When you're ready, answer the following questions. Whose interview are you processing? Why did you choose them? When and how was the interview conducted? You can find that out by clicking on that link, right? So let's see. When and how was Mr. Dawson's interview collected? It looks like it was October 2nd, and it looks like an audio file. So that's all you have to indicate is that it was October 2nd and it was an audio recording. Okay. What are you nervous about? What are you excited for? And are you working alone or with a partner? And if you're working with a partner, what is their name? Both people need to post. So if I'm working with Liz, I'm going to put, I'm working with Liz, and this is who I'm studying. Liz would write, I'm working with Summer, and here's what I'm going to study. Okay, does that make sense? Now, a couple hints and resources, like I said, you may work on your own or in teams of 2. Just identify it in the discussion board because I'll end up putting you in groups in Canvas. All you have to do right now is just select a narrator. You don't have to do anything else. The next assignments down the road are going to teach you how to do that, how to process their interview. One other little thing is, as you saw, I'm actually interviewing people constantly on behalf of these projects. If you want to, you are welcome to sit in on one of my interviews, or more than one if you'd like. Just email me and we'll coordinate. This portion of the assignment should take you 1 hour or less. Just scan through the narrators, pick a narrator, pick your group, and you're good to go. And as I said, priority goes to students who make their selections first. So even though this might be due on October 30th or whatever the date is, let's say it's due on October 30th, you can post as soon as you're ready to select your narrator, because priority goes to the person who chose first. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know and I will happily direct you as best I can. All right, everybody, can't wait to see who you pick.